MCC feedback is the rarest and most demanding form of developmental feedback in the mentor coaching profession. The PCC to MCC transition isn't about learning new skills. The skills are already there. It's about transcending technique entirely. Your feedback must name what technique still looks like in a coaching session and what its dissolution looks like when it happens. That's a fundamentally different task from anything you've done at ACC or PCC level. The feedback itself becomes an act of artistry. The most useful structural tool for MCC feedback is the bridge sentence. It connects PCC level acknowledgement to the MCC level target without prescribing the path between them. Here's what it sounds like. Your exploration of the client's values was deep and well structured. That's PCC level depth, consistent with the kind of coaching M7.1 describes it meets. Then the bridge. At MCC, that exploration would happen without structure. The client's values would surface through the quality of the partnership itself, not through directed inquiry. The question isn't what values are at play, but being so present that the values reveal themselves. PCC acknowledgement. MCC target. No prescription for how to cross the gap. The most common failure in MCC feedback: your coaching needs more soul, more art, more presence. This is meaningless. The coach cannot act on it. It sounds profound, but it communicates nothing specific about what happened, what the gap is, or what the target looks like in practice. The fix is always the same. Name the specific statement, name the specific moment in the recording, name the specific gap between what happened and what artistry would look like. Your C5 felt like presence with effort rather than presence as default. At 12:15, you paused deliberately. At MCC, the pause would emerge without decision. The silence would arrive because the moment called for it, not because the coach chose it. Evaluating every moment against the exceed standard. Holding the MCC candidate to a bar where every response must be exemplary across every competency. Meets at MCC is mastery. It's not a consolation prize. Not everything needs to be exemplary. And holding the client to an impossible standard undermines the developmental relationship because it communicates that mastery itself isn't enough. Perfectionism in MCC feedback creates a dynamic where the coach feels they can never arrive. The standard keeps moving. Celebrate meets explicitly when you see it. Name exceeds precisely when it appears. Distinguish them clearly. That distinction is the feedback, not a ranking that implies meets is insufficient. Rating PCC level coaching as MCC because the coach has years of experience, impressive credentials, or a strong reputation in the field. Time in practice does not equal artistry. Evidence equals artistry. A coach with 20 years of experience can demonstrate PCC level depth consistently without ever crossing into MCC artistry. A coach with 8 years can show moments of genuine mastery. Your feedback must reflect what you observed in the recording, not what you expect from someone with this coach's background. When level inflation operates, you're evaluating the resume rather than the coaching. The recording is all that matters for the assessment. Next time, try being more spontaneous. Work on making your methodology less visible. Practice being more natural in your presence. Every one of those directives is self-defeating. You cannot try to be spontaneous. Trying is the opposite of spontaneity. You cannot deliberately make something invisible. Deliberation creates visibility. You cannot practice being natural. Practice implies artifice. What you can do, observe where technique is still visible. Name the moment precisely. Describe what you saw. Then invite the coach to notice it themselves. At 8:30, I could see you choosing your next question. What do you notice about that moment when you listen back? The coach finds their own path through awareness, not through following instructions. Good MCC feedback follows a specific structure. Lead with strengths, not generic praise, but specific behavioral evidence showing where artistry already appears. Timestamp it. Name the evaluator consideration that makes it MCC rather than PCC. Name the gap where PCC level depth is present, but artistry is absent. Specific evidence, specific moment, and a description of what artistry would look like at that moment without prescribing how to achieve it. Close with a reflection prompt, an open question inviting self-assessment. When you listen to this recording, where do you feel the difference between the moments that flow and the moments that feel constructed? The coach's own noticing is more powerful than your analysis. This is the paradox that makes MCC feedback uniquely demanding. The more advanced the client, the less you can tell them what to do. MCC feedback relies increasingly on observations, reflections, and questions rather than guidance. Those are the MCC competencies themselves. How you deliver the feedback demonstrates what you're asking for. If your feedback is structured, methodical, and technique visible, you're modeling PCC level work while asking for MCC. If your feedback flows naturally, responds to what emerges in the conversation, and trusts the coach's own process to lead them forward, you're modeling artistry. Your way of being in the feedback conversation teaches more than the content of your feedback. You show the coach what you see. That's the entire methodology at this level. You name the moments of artistry, where everything flowed, where the methodology disappeared, where the coaching and the conversation became the same thing. You name the moments of technique, where structure was visible, where the coach chose their response rather than let it emerge, where skill was clearly present but artistry was not yet. They find their own path to mastery from there, because artistry cannot be prescribed. It can only be witnessed, reflected, and recognized until the coach learns to see it in themselves. A mirror, not a map. The principles from Module 5 in the ICF Evaluation Feedback Guide haven't changed. Lead with strengths, cite evidence, use specific language, close with reflection. Those principles hold at every level. What's different at MCC is the calibration. The strengths you cite are artistry moments. The evidence describes qualities of being, not just observable actions. The specific language draws from the 3 evaluator considerations as much as from the behavioral statements themselves. MCC feedback is the final layer on a framework you've been building since Module 5. The principles are constant. The precision keeps increasing. That precision is what makes your feedback genuinely developmental for the rarest clients you'll serve.